Research Triangle Park area. Some of y'all may have heard, but Apple and Google are announcing new campuses in the Raleigh-Durham area. There's also Nike and some other big name employers moving into this space. I don't know if you guys know about this, but SARE is organizing a field trip to Raleigh from next weekend, actually. So hopefully I'll be seeing, I think 12 of you out there with me. Yeah, I just wanted to introduce Tiffany. She's going to give us a rundown of the Raleigh-Durham area. She's a broker out there at Paradigm Properties. And she has been in the industry for a long, long time. Apparently, she's been knocking on doors when she started as a wholesaler. So she focuses and specializes in helping investors. And she works both in the residential commercial space, but she's one of the top producers and closed on over 9.2 million in 2020. And she's also regionally ranked pretty highly. So she's a co-chair of the Durham's Affordable Housing Bond Implementation Committee, co-chair of the Business and Professional Chain Economic Development Committee. A lot of buzzwords that I don't have the ability to not mess up if I keep saying them. But she helps with investors, and she came highly recommended from some other brokers. And so she's also a general contractor, so she can help you with all those fixes that you might need. And without further ado, she's going to give us a quick background, I guess, on what there is in North Carolina for us to look at, and different markets and deals that she is seeing right now listed. So
awesome. Well, thank you for the introduction, and hello everyone. Glad that you were able to join us on this lovely evening. I actually have a PowerPoint presentation that we'll walk through. It'll cover quite a bit for you. I apologize in advance because some of the slides we're really going to race through because I want to focus on the meat that I know you guys want to hear about. I am used to working with investors, many of whom are out of state or overseas, and I've never had a chance to meet them. They've never seen their properties. So I do help from start to finish as far as helping to get financing in place. I'm not a mortgage lender, but I work with a number of mortgage lenders who are awesome and who are great with working with out-of-state investors, helping to identify and locate properties and helping you to team up with the right property manager in the area, depending on the type of property that you're looking for. I think it's really important that an investor who's not in the area understand the area. So a lot of what we'll talk about is sort of giving you background in the Raleigh-Durham. I know everyone's excited about Apple and Google and Nike and Epic Games and all of those announcements. But I want to make sure to fill in the gaps so that you guys understand why Raleigh-Durham is and has been such a solid market. And we will dive in from there. Hang on one second. I think I saw that you made me co-host, so let me go ahead and share.
You should screen share now.
All right. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Okay, we will dive in. Again, Tiffany Elder. Disclaimer. I always give a disclaimer anytime I give a presentation. Just because real estate does involve risk, the good thing is if you have a good team, even when issues pop up, you have a team in place that can help you mitigate so that you don't end up in a very difficult situation. I can tell you some funny stories over the years of difficult situations that did pop up. That's a different conversation, but the good thing is in all of those situations, we were able to sort of turn the corner and pull it back in. So real estate, just like any other investment, involves risk. So I'm not a CPA, but I do share answers to any of your questions with the caveat of check with your tax representative, check with your attorney, check with ABC along the way. About Tiff, 18-year realtor and investor. I have been active in the North Carolina real estate market full-time as a realtor, general contractor, and investor, a combination of all the above for 18 years. I am a former software engineer in the financial services industry. I came here for grad school after a few years of being a software engineer. I did my MBA at UNC, Keenan Flagler Business School. And when I came out, was not excited about going into corporate. I was fortunate to have a couple of job offers. And I thought about it and I said, if I take these jobs, it's just going to be to take the money and stash it for a while and then I'm going to leave. So I figured, let me not waste their time or mine. And since I want to dive into real estate entrepreneurship, let me give it a try. That was way back when. I don't want to tell you how old I am, but clearly a long time ago.
So wait. So how much was this MBA that you're like, you know what? I can handle debt. Like, how much was this?
And it's funny because, you know, coming out, I was like, well, now I know how to run a business. Let me put it to use. Yeah, real estate entrepreneurship was a very interesting field to dive into right after that. But the fortunate thing is that the Raleigh-Durham area has always historically been sort of the tried and true consistent growth pace area. We had never until, you know, within the past few years had any significant like upswings. We were just tried and true, solid numbers, you know, all the formulas you see online applied to our market, and things have sort of changed. But I am 18 years in the business here. I'm managing broker of Paradigm Properties, which is a real estate full service brokerage firm. I'm a North Carolina licensed general contractor, have been for over 15 years. In my investing activities, brokerage, rentals, I manage my own real estate portfolio, but I do not manage for my brokerage clients. I'll pair them with a property manager who can pick up and manage their portfolios for them. I've done wholesaling, I've done rehabbing. I love historic restoration tax credits. That's one of the few tax shelters that real estate investors can get that are not necessarily wiped out by your income. So I'm happy to talk to anyone about that if you have interest in that, because we have a lot of historic districts here. I've done condo conversions, short sales, new construction, land development, all of the above. So I'm happy to answer questions on those and how they apply to the current market here in North Carolina. What we'll cover today, I want you to leave here with an understanding of what is the triangle, what is RDU, which is the Raleigh-Durham Airport. That's our airport code, RDU. So you'll see that everywhere. You know, why is the area desirable? What are the stats in the market? We're going to spend some time on that since I'm zooming through a lot of other stuff. And, you know, we'll look at some sample properties that my clients have purchased recently, and then I'll show you a couple properties that are on the market right now so that you understand what the current market looks like. So what is the triangle? The triangle is Raleigh, Durham up here, Chapel Hill to the left. If you draw a line through the cities, it creates a triangle. So that's why they call it the triangle area. We're almost central in North Carolina. We are 2 hours in from the coast. If you go up this way, right around here, that's DC, 4 hours. If you go down here, just off the screen, 5 hours, that's Atlanta. We are, and so 4 hour drive north, 5 hour drive south, 2 hour drive to the coast. It's a really convenient area, an hour and a half west to the mountains, which are beautiful, really convenient location. We are home to a ton of colleges and universities. I'll mention that later on. But when you hear the triangle, they mean the main three cities of Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, but there are a ton of townships and municipalities around them, like Cary, which we'll talk about a lot today, Apex, which is just south of there, Wake Forest, Hillsborough, Carborough, all of those are townships around the area. So as the triangle has been growing, those areas on the periphery of the main cities have started to become much more desirable. So, diverse industries. This is one of the reasons why during the last recession, the triangle was still solid. So when everything else went crazy across the US in 07, 08, the triangle flattened out and maybe dipped in a few areas, but really we didn't feel it the same way a lot of other areas did because we're not a one industry town. We have healthcare, Duke Hospitals, which is the largest hospital system in the state, is here. We also have UNC hospitals, which ain't too shabby either. Ton of tech companies. These are just some of them. Education, all of these colleges and universities are within about 50 miles of each other. Many of them are actually within the Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill cities. Ton of life sciences. We have a huge startup community. As of maybe 3-4 years ago, we started to see direct flights from the West Coast here because there are a ton of venture capitalists coming from the West Coast here for things like American Underground, which is downtown on Main Street. So for you guys who are going to be here next week, right in the middle of Main Street, you'll see American Underground, and they're home to 150 plus startups. We have a huge startup community, technology, biotech, and all of the above. And again, that's what helped to sort of hold the market up during the last recession. And that's what's given us this image of stability, because again, we're not a one-trick pony. Other major employers, just a few. And here, so I skipped over the major employers because all of these are headlines that I've grabbed maybe over the last 2 to 3 months. So there's a biotech adding 878 jobs, 160, $61 million expansion. Epic Games is building their new headquarters in Cary. Everyone is excited, especially all of those Fortnite players out there. But Epic is huge, one of the largest gaming companies. Clorox expansion. Google is bringing jobs. They're going to be housed downtown in Durham at the Durham ID building, is what I've heard, on either a 2 or 3 year lease, and then they're going to find a permanent location in Durham. And they're bringing up to 1,000 jobs as their U.S. expansion. Apple is the big one that we heard about a few weeks ago. And they are supposed to bring about 3,000 jobs to start. And we're going to talk about their location and what's happening around there. And these are just some of the other companies. So you see it's spanning quite a few industries. And our location and the fact that we have so many colleges and universities and other benefits in the area is one of the reasons why employers enjoy it here. We have, a lot of tech programs. We have a lot of healthcare programs that are churning out graduates year after year. And that's one of the things that employers are looking at, in addition to quality of life, et cetera. So that's what's drawing a lot of these companies to the Raleigh-Durham area. Area growth, I'll send you the slide so you can take a look at it, but the short of it is we're growing pretty rapidly. One point of fact to consider is, for the longest, Raleigh, which is the state capital, which is in Wake County. So Raleigh's in Wake County, Cary is in Wake County, Durham is in Durham County. So for the longest, Wake County was the second largest county in the state, behind the county that Charlotte is located in. Charlotte is 2 hours southwest of here, and that's Mecklenburg County. Wake County, where Raleigh is located, has now surpassed Mecklenburg County as the most populous county in the state, and it's growing at a faster clip than Mecklenburg County, which is where Charlotte is. So there was always like this little, battle for number one. And so Wake County, where Raleigh and Cary are now number one, and they're growing super fast. Area rankings, I'm sure you guys have seen some of these. I won't bore you with the list, but these are just some of the rankings that have popped up, and some of the reviews for why the Triangle is a great area for millennials, for retirees. We're seeing a lot of retiree money from folks who were previously going to Florida, and then the hurricanes have scared them, and they want to be somewhere with good weather, but not so scary weather. As far as people who are starting out on their careers, there's job opportunities across a myriad of industries. So these are some of the rankings that you'll see out there. U-Haul ranked the Triangle number one for growth in 2019 based on number of one-way rentals. So I guess if you rent a U-Haul truck and move, they keep track of where their trucks are going. So there was a huge influx into the area. I don't know what it was after this, but I'm guessing
this year, the number one was actually Nashville. So
awesome.
Tennessee was the top state, I believe.
Nice.
And then Texas was the next most popular one. So
nice. So this is where we'll spend a little bit of time. This right here shows you the stats for the entire Triangle region. As an FYI, the two upcoming slides will show you Wake County and Durham County. The same stats, but just county specific. So this is the entire Triangle region: Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and the surrounding areas in those counties. If you take a look at a few things that I want you to focus on, a healthy, balanced market has 6 months of inventory. The Triangle has half a month of inventory, 2 weeks. This is an extremely, extremely strong seller's market. And I always want to start by letting folks know the type of market they're walking into, because depending on the properties that you're looking for, you need to know so that you understand sort of what negotiating ground you're on. There's no inventory, and folks are clamoring over the inventory that's available. So definitely keep that in mind. Now this column over here is May to May, just comparing May of last year to May of this year. This is considering year to date last year to the end of May to year to date this year, like the total averages. So you can sort of dice up the numbers different ways, but if you consider simple stuff like last May, average sale price 330. This May, average sale price 401. Big difference. Last May, we had 2 months of supply. This May, we have 2 weeks of supply, half a month. Inventory is dropping dramatically. Days on market is less than cut in half. Inventory, 7,000 units last May. This May, we had just over 2,000 units on the market. And to put that in comparison, because knowing the number of units doesn't matter. You know, if you live in one stop sign town, America, 2,000 units is a lot of units. You know, you'd sort of need to compare it to something. I'll compare it to give you an idea of competition. There are 12,000 realtors who belong to the Durham and Wake County realtor boards, just under 12,000 realtors. Most realtors are working with multiple buyers at any given time. So let's say every realtor, and this is probably really minimizing it, let's say every realtor is working with 3 to 4 buyers at a time. So 12,000 realtors, 40,000 people looking for a home. In the entire triangle in May, they had 2,000 homes to look at. That's the type of competition we're seeing. I know last week I put an offer on a home with a client and that home got 40 offers. I've seen homes that hit the market that have gotten 60 offers. I've heard of one house that got 100 offers. I kind of think they left it on the market for like a full week or so, which is overkill. By the time you get to a dozen or so offers, you probably have a winner in there. But I want to set the stage to let you know that there are good deals to be had. But the way that you look at your numbers and crunch the numbers and make sure that the numbers work, that's sort of how you determine your best offer. And if you get it, it's great. If the numbers don't work for you, I never want people to be in a market where they feel like they have to compete and they get caught up in a bidding war and they overbid. So I always want to give people the warning of the way you look at the numbers in a market like this. The way that you look at your offer in a market like this is going to be a little bit different. Another thing I want you to pay attention to is the median sales price versus the average sales price. So we all know average, you know, I don't want to be remedial. I know you guys know this, but average, you just average all the numbers together. Median, you put all the sales prices in line, like this sold for $1, $100, $1,000, $1,001, and you pluck the one out the middle. Anytime you see the average that high over the median, it's because there are so many homes selling over that median price that it's pulling the average up. We're seeing for the first time ever a lot of homes that are selling at what used to be closer to luxury home prices. And now those price ranges are not luxury home prices. That's because we have so many people moving here from other areas that are much more expensive. So the bargain basement prices in Raleigh-Durham, you know, they're not so scary and folks are willing to pay more for what they want. So again, over $500,000 is, it used to be, you know, 5-10 years ago, more of a reach. It's becoming pretty much the norm now. So take a look at these numbers and we're going to dive in to the specific counties. And it's not going to be too much of a difference, but I at least want you to see Durham County and Durham County and Wake County after that. So this is Durham County. Durham County is home to the city of Durham. It's where Duke University is located. So for those of you who will be down here next week, downtown, you're going to be 5 minutes from Duke's East Campus. Duke is adjacent to downtown, just west of downtown. So these are the numbers here, May to May, year to date, very similar. And the cool thing about the triangle is that it has sort of nooks that have their own personalities. So there's something for everyone. There's something for every investor. There are certain property types that are prevalent. There are certain property types that I believe we don't have enough of. But this gives you a little bit of a look into the cities specifically inventory in the entire city of Durham. 259 homes were available on the market at the end of May. Now, of those 12-ish thousand realtors in the triangle, let's see, about 1,200 of those belong to the Durham Board of Realtors. The overwhelming majority belong to the Wake County Raleigh Association of Realtors. But even for 1,200 realtors who are working with multiple buyers, that's still not very many homes to choose from. So again, just keep in mind that we are in this is the lowest inventory level that we have ever seen in the triangle. And it's funny, I always hear people talking about bubble. So if you just humor me for a second, let's talk about a bubble. I saw the market, I was in the market back during the ramp up leading up to the recession. In the triangle back then, we had 8 to 9 months of inventory on the market. So again, balanced market is 6 months. Anything over 6 months is a buyer's market. Anything less than 6 months is a seller's market. We had 8 to 9 months of inventory on the market, but people were still buying things up like crazy, like we were about to run out of housing. That's a fabricated demand, so to speak. That is a bubble. What we're experiencing now is true supply and demand forces. We just don't have enough housing for the people who live here, let alone for the people who are moving here. And it's pushing prices up because people are competing harder for the homes that we do have available. Wake County, which is where Raleigh is, where the capital is, similar numbers. Few more homes, but it's a larger area, larger population. But still, as you can see, dramatic increases over last year, whether you look at, January to end of May averaged, which is the 370, increase to the 425, or if you look at just May 2020 to just May 2021, still a steep incline. We've been seeing a lot of growth. And again, this is the first time that this has happened. My mentors who are still active in the market here, much longer than I've been here, 25, one of them's 25, one of them's 40 years. They've never seen this. The 40-year, he's an appraiser as well as being a broker and a developer. And this is sort of a new phenomenon for our market. So it's growing pains, but again, the triangle is really growing and there's really strong demand. To summarize, things are moving fast, low inventory. There are plenty of great options if you're able to move quickly. Whenever I'm working with clients, there are certain things that we get in line up front so that they're ready to move when the right property hits the market so that you don't miss an opportunity. Some properties are hitting the market and going the first day or next day that they're on the market. A lot of homes in our market, this is something we have never seen before. A lot of homes are coming on the market coming soon. I don't know if you guys have that in your area. A lot of investment properties are coming on the market coming soon with no showings. I was just talking to a client of mine who wants to pick up a rental in the area. We can't get inside to view it. So there are a lot more sight unseen offers going in this market than we've ever had before. There are certain ways to mitigate and get yourself, comfortable with a little bit more information with those homes. And again, I never want someone I'm never going to push someone to doing that, but keep in mind that a lot of homes are moving before they ever, hit the open market on an active status through the MLS for MLS listings.
Got it. Wow. Thank you. That was a lot. Wait, sorry. Is there more? Sorry. I didn't want to.
Super. Yeah. I was going to walk through some I'm going to walk through a quick map.
Break it down for us. Yeah.
Let's see. So don't laugh at my Apple. I was looking for something to stick on there and I was looking for the Apple logo and I was rushing and I said, look, any Apple will do. So this Apple is the proposed location. If you go to WRAL.com, they mention where there was a plat of land purchased and where the Apple campus is going to go right here. So this pinkish area where this green star is, that's Research Triangle Park. Research Triangle Park is one of the largest research parks in the US. It used to be the largest. I'm not sure if it still is, so I'll say one of the largest. It's home to a couple hundred companies. It was home to, Lenovo and IBM and a lot of other companies there. So it stretches both Durham and Wake County. Apple is going to be located on the Wake County side, which is down here, because remember, Raleigh is in Wake County, Durham is in Durham County. Majority of RTP is in Durham County, but this area down here is in Wake County. So the Apple campus is here. And as you can see, it's super central. This is, central between downtown Durham, downtown Raleigh, central in the triangle, near a ton of transportation. This little blue line, so this is one of my favorite maps because it actually shows streets and sites so you can get your bearings, but it's an older map that doesn't have the highway extension. So that's my little attempt to draw in the approximate route of, this is Highway 540. So this is approximately where 540 lands, and it's connected this part of Raleigh. Now, all of this north in Raleigh is connected, and that even boosted property values once that was connected, and it runs right by where Apple is.
Can we comment on what
Yeah.
that location says? Nelson, what's that place called? Nelson? Where's that?
What is it?
That place called Nelson, right above the Apple.
Oh yeah, it's a sign. But as you can see, it's super central here. So of course, there's a lot of attention in this immediate area around here. But I'll show you something simple, is right here is where Duke University and downtown Durham is, where you guys are staying. From here to here is less than 20 minutes. So the cool thing is, if you're somewhere central here, you have the benefit of 2 draws for potential demand. If you have a broad radius around here, you still have a broad, the triangle is not so spread out. If you look at the actual cities, this is where UNC is, right here. This right here is North Carolina State University. This is RTP, this is Duke. To get from here to here is no more than a 25-30 minute drive. So everything, the map probably makes it look farther than what it is, but proximity is one of the things that benefits the triangle, because even though different areas have different vibes and different feels and different norms in the real estate markets, everything is really pretty close. So keep that in mind too when you're, looking at opportunities here, because there's so much attention here. And I'm going to show you some numbers for some deals in the areas here coming up just in a second. But you can start to see the numbers have increased here because that's sort of the hot zone. But there are opportunities even outside of that quote unquote hot zone. And I just want you guys to be aware of that. So this is what y'all really
Can you go back to the map one sec? There's a question in the group related to the transportation around the area. The question is, are there regional commutes or any public transportation projects between the counties? So other than driving, how do people get around?
So there was a light rail project that they pumped the brakes on that did not go through. A lot of folks were sad to see that didn't go through because it was going to be a connection there and it just didn't happen. So no, there is not a regional connection, main between the cities. That was going to be that connection. We do have, city bus transportation. We do have a ton, as you can see, of highways and thoroughfares and main roads through the cities, but that regional connection that was going to connect some of the areas in the triangle and connect it to the airport ended up getting halted.
Darn, that would have been nice to have.
Yes. Yeah. I remember tracking the history of Phoenix, and they pretty much turned around their economy after 0809 because they put in a light rail, and they were able to expand and connect all these people to downtown that essentially got revitalized. So yep. Train lover here. So
yeah. And hopefully one day folks will revisit it and make it work, but yeah, it's not in the near future. Absolutely. So sample deals. One of my clients out in California. Actually, did I skip? Okay, the next one. So one of my clients out in California just closed on this one last week. This was his second deal. We closed on one in February and his property manager got it rented within a week, which means he got his deposits in place and in his first month rent before his first mortgage payment ever came. That's another note. The rental market here in the Triangle, just like we have a housing shortage, we have a rental shortage. Rentals are it's pretty competitive, as you'll see on a deal that I'm going to show you after a little further down, where the rents actually got bid up over what the seller was, what the landlord was asking for rent. But this is one that my client just picked up. 360 purchase price. It was a 330 asking price, so that was his offer price that won the deal. 2150 a month rents are projected for his property manager. I wouldn't be surprised if they got more than that. And this one's located in Durham, but it's right on the edge, on the cusp of RTP, near Duke, shopping, dining, a lot of conveniences. This house was 4 years old. This was a house that I was a little squeamish of because I couldn't get inside. Like, I got on a FaceTime call and we walked around the yard, around the exterior, and we looked at prior pictures of it, in the system, and he was kind of like, look, what could they have done in 4 years? And so we took a shot, and actually when we got inside, it was gleaming and gorgeous and beautiful, more than we could have imagined. So he's a happy camper.
If everyone cares about the numbers, that's about $1,200 a month for your mortgage payments, and then probably $200-300 for the property taxes, and the $200-300 for your insurance. So that thing at least gets close to cash flow. Once you factor in the fact that it's only 4 years old, you probably have no capex and very minor repairs. So this thing,
amazing shape. That one, it didn't need. Well, he's in the process. I have a really inexpensive painter. One of the benefits of being able to pull from my, put my GC hat on and pull from those folks. But two of the rooms were green, so he's going to paint those rooms. But other than that, and 3 of the blinds were broken during move out, the little inexpensive $10 blinds, $20 blinds. So those are the only things that he's going to have to do before putting a tenant in place. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous home. This one, another one of my California clients closed on in January. He never had a chance to get out here. This one we lucked up on, because anything that starts with a 2 that looks like this is few and far between. We got super lucky and got in and got this one. And we're super excited. He already has his tenant in place. He's located near RTP as well. It's a really cute neighborhood. Awesome rental property for him. So sample deals. This is one that I was talking to my client about today. This is in Cary. This is maybe 5 minutes or so from the proposed Apple location. There's a tenant already in place who's been there for 4 years. They're not letting anybody get inside. The mom had knee surgery, and I don't know what's going on. But we can't seem to get inside. But they've been in there for 4 years. Their lease goes through June of next year. They actually want to stay longer. I'm in the process of reviewing the lease to see if there are any escalations in there, if it's just, a flat lease that expired and they've been renewing it every year. But yeah, this one's super close to the Apple location. Per the listing agent, it's in great shape on the interior, but they have a ton of furniture and stuff. So she said, you'll probably have to clean the carpets and paint it when they leave. And if they rip the carpets, you might have to put some carpets in there, but everything else is great. So this is FYI, the HOA fees on this one a total about $175, $176 a month. So, and townhomes are tricky because you're going to have HOA fees, but in exchange for those HOA fees, it takes away some of your maintenance concerns in a lot of neighborhoods, not all, but a lot of neighborhoods, for like the exterior maintenance, for mowing, for the roof, for all of those things that you would otherwise have to account for on your end. So this one's a solid option because of the location. This is another single family. So this one, this is a really sought after location. Also just less than 10 minutes away from that proposed Apple location. And when I pulled rents to see what they would run in the area, one on the same side of the street, on the same block, just rented in June. They were only asking $1,975 and it rented for $2,100 a month. So that tells me that there was competition for the rental and the rents got bid up. So we have never been in a situation before where rents get bid up. This is a new phenomenon in the triangle, but we're starting to hear it a little bit more so. So great location on this one as well. This one's in Cary. So it's in that area sort of west of Raleigh, south of Durham. This is a 4-unit in Durham, really convenient to Duke and downtown, $440 asking price. rents total 2,700, 3 long-term tenants, and then there's one tenant that's been in there. I think it said they've been in there just over a year, like May of 2020. So I guess they just had their first lease renewal. But solid numbers in a really solid location. And then there are land development opportunities. There are a couple clients I've been working with. There's some land that has popped up. So we have not been able to keep up with housing in our area. So land banking and land development have become even more desirable as investment options because our land values have been increasing at a pretty fast clip. 100 acres for $1 million is a lot of land at that price.
Where 100 acres?
100 acres.
How far out in the boonies is this?
It's north in Durham, which interestingly enough, not the Board of Adjustment, the Board of Equalization has mentioned that pretty much all of the large plots of land, the Board of Equalization for Durham has mentioned that pretty much all the large plots of land are gone. But the one area of Durham that's not densely developed is North Durham, like going up Roxborough Road. If you look on the map, Roxborough Road is 501. That's the part of town that hasn't been densely developed, and they're projecting that that's where a lot of development is going to happen. And the 100 acres is up that way. The 25 acres is in Wake County, in a really convenient location. It's about half a mile down the street from utilities. This is the one that I was on the phone with a client about today, just looking into seeing if it's a possibility, you know, and what the numbers look like on that and what can be built on that based on current zoning, or if it's worth trying to go through a rezoning, which can be a pain, but it can be worth it if you come out on the other end with the rezoning for what you want to build. So there's a lot of opportunity, and keeping in mind that we have a housing shortage and there's not enough land in the pipeline for entitlements right now, even to handle current demand, let alone the increased demand that we've been having. So definitely, again, land banking, land development are opportunities for folks who want sort of a long-term opportunity here in the Triangle.
For everyone curious, in Austin out here, we're looking at 100 acres, just kind of out far from the boonies, and it was 30 million for 100 acres. So it's a it's a price parity, a very significant one. So
very significant. Good grief. Yeah. And I think, yep, that covers everything. You know, I'd be happy to chat with anyone who has an interest.
Yes. Wow. That was killer. Thank you, Tiffany.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of questions that we're going to go through. So if you're ready for them, maybe actually we should go back to that screen shared page that you had for the map, and then because there's some questions around that. Okay, we'll start from the top. Yeah, and you were right earlier saying that prices fell only 6% pretty much from the peak. So in 0809, right, we hit that curve and then it dropped 6%. So that's pretty great considering that the rest of the US saw like 30% drops on average. And then following that, Jason asked that question. Okay, Chong asked, of the three sister cities, which cities do you think will have the highest increase in rent or which ones have had the highest increase in rent over the past several years? And, you know, I'm probably sure that's leading to where do you think the rents will go up the fastest after that?
So that's the interesting thing. Well, to answer a different question before I get to that one is rents have not so far been increasing at the same clip that prices have been increasing. Prices have been escalating more quickly than rents have. Although now we are starting to see things like bidding up rentals, you know, that lag behind the bidding up sales. And that's normal. You know, your rental market, your commercial market, certain things are going to lag behind your traditional housing market. So which city, it's not so much which city. There are certain nooks within both cities that are a little more accelerated than others. There are, like, if you're in Durham and you are downtown Durham, very strong desirability, very strong numbers. There's a little neighborhood, I don't know why I'm leaning in like I'm going to find it because it's not on this map, but there's a little neighborhood right outside of downtown Durham called Cleveland Holloway. It's adjacent to downtown Durham on the east side. Now, remember I told you Duke is just on the west side bordering downtown Durham. Cleveland Holloway is a historic district right on the east side. So you can walk across the street and be downtown from Cleveland Holloway. A little 1,100 square foot home in that neighborhood. I just saw that it rented for $2,000 a month, which is high in our area for that. That rent per square foot is high. So there are some areas like the downtown Durham area, like Briar Creek, which is an area on the map that I'm going to give you guys for your tour down here. Briar Creek is where 540, it's right around, we're 70. Okay, 70, 540. It's right around here, kind of, sort of. And it's the general Briar Creek area. Part of it is in like the eastern part of Durham. Part of it is the northwestern part of Raleigh. There's everything in that area. There's shopping. There's a golf community in the area and a country club. There's dining, there's everything. And a lot of people like having all of that within a couple minutes of home. And that Briar Creek area started being built out maybe 15 or so years ago, and they're still building over there. So it's kind of like its own little cool island of stuff to do and see and places to live. That tends to have higher price premiums, higher rental premiums, strong desirability. Raleigh,
Oh, okay.
This is called the Beltline. Inside the Beltline has stronger demand than outside the Beltline typically, because the capital is central. So it's not so much. And Cary, New Cary, there's New Cary and Old Cary. A lot of Cary near where this Apple campus is has stronger demand as well. So it's there, and there are a few other pockets. So there are pockets within the cities as opposed to which city specifically. Now, once Amazon sends me my crystal ball, I will tell you which city will have the strongest demand in the future. If any realtor or real estate professional tells you what's going to happen in the future, I caution you to run really fast in the other direction, because they don't know and they're just trying to sell you on something that they can't reassure you of. So I will be upfront and tell you that I do not know what the future holds, but if the future mirrors the past, then these areas that are in strong demand should hold strong in the future as well.
Is there a path of progress that you've seen in particular over the last few years then on that subject?
Yeah, I would say after 540 came in, again, this area here has become much more desirable. So I wasn't surprised, like when they said Apple was coming in around there, it made perfect sense. This is such a central location. Anything in and around RTP has always been a solid location. South Durham, if you're looking in Durham, that's one of the areas, 27713 zip code, is one of the locations that people love, because you can actually hop into RTP without touching any of the expressways. And if you live in South Durham, I have a lot of clients who have bought there, because if you're a resident at Duke or a resident at UNC, you're within 15 minutes. And apparently residents need to be a short distance because they're not going to be able to go to sleep because they're going to be on call. So there's a lot of interest in the South Durham area because it's literally adjacent to RTP. The Cary area, again, Northwest Raleigh, Briar Creek, again. So those are the areas that have gotten a lot of draw. But there, again, if you're 5 minutes away or 10 minutes away from that, it's not like a steep drop off. And as cities grow and these areas close in become so populated, it's fanning out. And we're starting to see that. There are areas west of Chapel Hill that I thought tumbleweeds blew across the streets years ago, that people are fighting to get properties and rentals in those areas too. So, consider, again, 15, 20 minutes between here and there, 20-ish minutes between here and there, that's nothing. So there's a lot of opportunity in this entire area.
Got it. Okay. Follow-up question. What kind of roles or jobs is Apple proposing to hire for their North Carolina location? I actually know this one. So I used to work there a few years ago. I could chat with some old friends. Basically, it's a lot of new machine learning jobs. So they're like the high paying, like at least six-figure, like starting salary out of college types of jobs. The downside is it's only going to be like 3,000 new jobs for like a city of like, or metro area of like what, 2 million people?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
The full triangle area is a little over 2 million people. And right now they're supposed to be bringing 3 jobs at either an average or starting salary of 187,000. And it's going to be some artificial intelligence, machine learning, at least from what they've reported.
Yeah.
We
All
know
right.
that they're going to be supporting jobs and supporting roles, peripheral to what
Yeah.
that organization does that will come to, but I don't know what that is as of
Yeah.
yet.
So, I mean, those are better jobs than, so I know some people, for example, mention, Apple's coming with a new data center. I got to tell you, those are the bottom tier jobs that are moving to your city. For one, you're going to build like a multi-billion-dollar facility and they'll hire 12 people to take care of the whole thing
Oh,
because that's
wow.
all they need. And they don't really contribute much to the economy other than a one-time construction.
Yep.
And then the permanent jobs are very low. So if tech is actually entering your city, you got to check which jobs are coming in. It can't just be a data center. So
That makes sense.
yeah.
Also, distribution centers, right? For Amazon, those are not really the glamorous jobs.
Yep.
Those are the jobs that are come to Phoenix.
So that depends. Actually, in Chicago, I'm doing a lot of projects in the South Side, and there's this neighborhood that's actually had no jobs. So an Amazon distribution center is actually a step up. They're building one there, and it's like they have not had a lot of investment in the last few decades. So any new jobs is a good thing, depending on the neighborhood it's going into.
Yeah.
But if you're expecting it to like, turn to Silicon Valley, that's yeah, no, a data center will not do that for you. Yeah.
And just to give you guys perspective, the per capita median income in our area is under 70,000, like between 60 and 70,000 per head in the Durham and Raleigh area. So that laundry list of companies that I showed you guys that's coming with a ton of 6-figure jobs, that's a huge change. That's thousands upon thousands of jobs at a much higher per capita income than is the median in the triangle right now.
No. Okay. Follow-up subject. Michael asked if there are any dangerous neighborhoods within the triangle that people should avoid.
Define dangerous for me.
I'm guessing like high crime areas that people like generally have a stigma against.
Okay. So I will say that there have been neighborhoods historically that were stigmatized that are now revitalizing. There isn't, so I'm a little biased because I've been here for so long and I've seen a lot of those neighborhoods. And when I see a price, I'm like, they're asking what, where? I still have to get over it, but clearly I need to get over it because those areas have revitalized, gentrified, whatever you want to call it. Southeast Raleigh was one of those areas where you could get a lot of, I'll say you could get a lot for your money for different reasons. East Durham, funny enough, Cleveland Holloway used to be one of those neighborhoods where it was lined with houses that you could pick up for 30 grand a piece. And a lot of them were vacant and blighted. And now that's one of the gems in Durham. So a lot of our neighborhoods, that 1,100 square foot house that I was mentioning to you 10 years ago, it might've been 30 grand. Now you'd be paying, 300-400 grand for 1,100 square feet in that neighborhood now. Of course, renovated, but still. So yes, there were areas that were less desirable, but now it's hard to find an area where folks are not clamoring over the properties. And again, that's something that I am learning to get over because it's sometimes hard to forget the past. And, from the standpoint of an advisor, let's say I'm working with Nelson on a purchase, of course, I'm going to mention the past just to let you know sort of how far along the growth curve that neighborhood is, because some of them are newer on the growth curve and some of them are more established on the growth curve.
Yeah.
There aren't any neighborhoods now where you can go in and, like, I used to buy vacant lots for construction for 20,000-30,000, and there's nowhere that I can go for probably under 75 to 100,000 for a vacant lot now, and even in neighborhoods that were previously stigmatized.
Now
Yeah,
that we're talking about lots, the next questions are actually related to the new builds, because Arthur has a couple questions on that.
Yeah.
On do we have any numbers on like where the new build number of new build permits or areas where there's lots of relative new builds with decent rent?
I don't know the numbers on permits, but I could get that pretty easily from, you know, from the city permitting offices. I'm trying to think if I've heard, I don't want to make anything up or guesstimate from prior conversations, but I could get that info, you know, pretty quickly. What was the second part of that question?
Where are the new builds that are coming up?
Everywhere, literally everywhere. You have new builds there. You cannot drive through you will see when you get here that you cannot drive through the triangle, especially the established neighborhoods in the triangle, and not see, you know, construction dumpsters, permit signs, etc. Those of you who are going to be here, who are going to be in downtown Durham, you're going to see a lot of that as you drive and walk the surrounding area.
I think a better question for that then is, which areas are the established ones and where are they building new communities?
Okay, so established areas are typically closest to the city centers. We have a lot of historic districts here in Raleigh and Durham. So the state capitol is inside the Beltline here. So, you know, all of this is established Raleigh. All of this is established Durham. You will see infill development in both Durham and Raleigh. You will see a lot of newer construction, like going down 55 into Cary, in areas that were previously just vacant land. That land's been bought up. A lot of it is going through certain steps in entitlement, and you'll see a ton of neighborhoods popping up, like, you know, the Brickyard over here, which isn't far from Apple. A ton of townhome and new construction neighborhoods, like in this general area, actually near where Apple's going to pop up. There are some new construction neighborhoods. Where am I at? Yeah, in that Briar Creek area that I was talking about, they're still building that out. There's some new construction neighborhoods in this area. And then in Durham, going up 55, which this is I-40, which is a main thoroughfare. And going up 55 to downtown Durham, there are, gosh, at least 4 or 5 townhome communities popping up through here. So along some of the main thoroughfares, you'll see them because people like to be near transportation. And a lot of times those were just empty vacant parcels that were sort of in between the main areas where people were living. Outside of those areas where new construction is clustered, if you drive down a street, you might see what used to be a vacant lot and they're building it out. And we also have a new phenomenon that we've never had before, is people buying houses and tearing them down and building new. So one cool thing about Durham is that we fought for a change to the zoning codes a couple years ago. They went into effect a little over a year ago. It's called Expanding Housing Choice. And now any lot within the urban core, you can build an ADU, which is an accessory dwelling unit of at least 800 square feet. We're excited to see more projects come into place for that. And some lots, depending on the size of the lots, because North Carolina, if you can imagine, was sort of like, hey, let's build a house and have a huge backyard. And all we do with the backyard is mow it and look at it. And yay, grass is green, it's pretty, it's useless. So now a lot of the lots are able to go in and subdivide or split their lots and either make their home a duplex or subdivide and build another home in their backyard. So that's another benefit to potential opportunities in Durham. If you're in the right location and you have a long-term plan or a long-term play for the property that you're buying, definitely keep that in mind. But you're seeing development everywhere. And again, I've never, on my block, someone bought a $400,000 house and tore it down and they're building a McMansion. We've never seen that before.
Interesting. Okay. So aside from just normal investing, have you seen other strategies work out or any loss to like worry about? I know certain cities don't like Airbnbs. And in Austin, for example, if you're trying to do co-living, they actually limit it to 6 people who are unrelated to a single house. So
yes. So the different municipalities have different requirements. There is a maximum number of unrelated people. Durham was recently able to raise theirs, I think, to 5. I think Raleigh is at 3 or 4. I have to double check that. Things to look out for. If you're buying a house and it's in an HOA, you need to make sure that HOA doesn't restrict rentals. I've heard that there are some neighborhoods that don't like rentals at all or don't allow them. I don't know how they police that, but in their HOA documents and covenants, they don't allow it. Some of them restricted to 1-year leases at minimum because they don't want Airbnb. A few years ago, Raleigh, the city, passed a no Airbnb, no short-term rental law. They have since lifted it, and I hope that it remains lifted. But that's something to keep in mind too, because I know some folks who were doing Airbnb investing and bought based on Airbnb numbers really got hit when that change hit. There was essentially an Airbnb short-term hotel that was developed, and then all of a sudden Raleigh says no short-term rentals. I mean, ouch, that hurt. So just keeping those things in mind. But yeah, HOA, and that's one thing that I usually talk to about my clients is let's check the HOA docs before we put an offer in, just to make sure it's going to fit what you're looking for. That's the main one to look out for. And if you are planning to use a home for anything like a rooming house or something, which by the universities can make a lot of cash flow, I can tell you that from experience. I, have traditional rentals. I have rentals that I've used for student housing near Duke. They make a lot of good cash flow, but you just have to make sure to know the occupancy requirements so that you don't get dinged.
Thank you. All right. Follow-up question from Ariel. Well, it's not really a question. She says she's
Actually,
interested
for the Ariel question, since that one's very specific and we're tight on time,
right.
we'll have Ariel and Tiffany, connect.
Yeah, follow up. Yeah, she's going to send her information, so don't worry about that.
Okay.
But interesting question. She did have a ROI question. Let's narrow it down to say, are there rules of thumb that you look for in your rentals? I know certain markets, like in Chicago, we still can get 1%, and that's usually like something people try to target. Is there a cash on cash number that you think is normal for the triangle?
So typically, cash on cash, if you're getting 5-6% cash on cash return, which by the way, I'm glad you said cash on cash, because a lot of people say cap rate, and for single family and small rentals, cap rate is not the best indicator. For larger multifamily, they are. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. But yeah, if you can get 5-6% cash on cash, you're doing pretty well. Which if you're, comparing to what you're getting or not getting, with money sitting, idle in an account or money market, then it's a win. But what I usually do is try to analyze each property differently, because if you look strictly at the raw numbers and the return, as opposed to like Vivek, the house that he bought that was 4 years old, that's a 4-year-old home that's in pristine condition. That's, a hop, skip, and a jump to RTP. There are certain other inherent benefits of that property that you can't factor into your numbers. So you have to make sure your numbers work. My rule is I don't want my clients to buy anything that's not in the black and doesn't pencil out in the black when they buy it. I have had some folks, over the years who at the end of the year, they realize they need some write-offs and they buy it regardless of what the cash flow is. I'm not a fan of that. And that's not what I'm going to advise anyone to do. You're buying to make money, and the property at least needs to cover itself, even including property management and some other costs, so that you don't end up in a bad way. But I try to do an analysis, property by property, based on a couple factors. I have a lot of cash buyers, and even if you're going in with cash, I crunch the numbers as if you have financing in place based on conventional terms, because money is so cheap right now. Why not? One. And two, like, why you never know when life will change, and you'll have to put financing in place and you have to make your numbers work. So if you're crunching numbers at a 75% loan to value at standard rates, you're accounting for property taxes, you're accounting for HOA fees, you're accounting for insurance and property management, and a little bit of cushion, and the property still pencils out, then I consider it a win. Some people want to go with the cash on cash return and want to get a certain number. We have far since left behind the 1% rule. It's gonna be super. If you find something that hits those numbers here, just get it. Don't think, just get it. But outside of that, yeah, I try to look at each property on an individual basis, because if Vivek's property was a 100-year-old historic property, those numbers would mean something different than a 4-year-old brand new property. Even though on paper they might have the same cash on cash return, those properties are very different.
That makes sense. We have a lot of questions that are starting to pop up. So
I'll stay as long as you'll have me.
you sure? Okay.
Yeah.
We don't want to hold you guys too long. We usually try to keep it within an hour so people don't get too bored. All right. So Vincent said, could you talk a bit more about the historic district and tax credits projects you're talking about?
Thank you, Vincent. So, and I got excited because I cut my teeth on, as a general contractor, I cut my teeth on historic restorations. So North Carolina is kind of amazing in that it has some really strong historic preservation tax credits. So when I first started, if you bought a property and you spent at least the basis of the property on renovations, so the basis meaning essentially your purchase price minus the land value minus a couple other things. So let's just say the value of the structure itself. If you spent that basis on renovations, then you would get a 20% federal tax credit and a 20% state tax credit, not deduction, dollar for dollar tax credit that you could take backwards 1 year, take forwards up to 5 years. That's super powerful. They have since adjusted those numbers down a little bit. They average out at about 30% total instead of 40% total. But what that means is if you buy a downtown historic building and you do a wham, bam, bang up renovation and open a business and lease out space, not only can you be in a prime location downtown, not only can you get cash flow from the property, but you can create a tax credit and a money shield for that cash that's coming in. We have a ton of historic preservation districts in the Triangle. I actually used to serve as the commissioner in Durham on the Historic Preservation Commission. We have a ton of districts in Durham and in Raleigh and in Chapel Hill. So there are ample opportunities, and in the surrounding areas around the Triangle. So if any of you are interested, definitely Google North Carolina Historic Preservation Tax Credits. There's an office in downtown Raleigh that oversees those, and that it's an amazing opportunity. It is riskier, I'll use that term, because typically the renovations have to be more extensive than a lot of investors are interested in. Most folks want to come in and maybe do some cosmetic and have it ready to go. And since you have to spend the basis of the property on the renovations for income producing property, then it is a more extensive renovation, but it can more than pay off. Like the tax credits are really beneficial. Some people who are doing large projects syndicate their tax credits and sell them. I have a friend who's doing a project on Main Street, and she syndicated and sold her tax credits to finance part of her deal as gap funding. And I mean, that's a powerful way to get deals done too. If you don't need the tax credits, sell them to someone who does.
Hey, thanks for sharing everything tonight. Is that something that I can retroactively go get? Because I did literally what you just said, but I didn't know about that, and I'm hoping to cash in on the tax credits.
I would say to call the state preservation office. So I tried to do the same thing maybe 7-8 years ago on a property that when you start a renovation and you're only going to do this much, and then you end up doing this much. And so I didn't go for the tax credits initially because I was like, it's not going to be a big enough project. And right. I was not able to get them retroactively because when you submit but call the state office. They're super helpful. They're eager to work with you because they want to preserve. But the challenge is in your application, you have to take before photos, and then you have to do a write-up of what you're doing to the property, and then you have to take your after photos. And there are certain things that you can't do. You can't take out wood windows to put vinyl. You have to restore the windows. You can't paint unpainted brick. You can't, there are certain things that it's not proportionate. It's not like, I did 90% of it right and I messed up this 10%. No, that 10% has now negated the full tax credit. So, and they're pretty strict on it. So call the state historic preservation office and ask that question because I don't want to give you a no where it might be a maybe.
Yeah. Is this one of those things where you should apply first before you do your scope of work and everything?
Yeah. Typically, because you typically need them to approve the work that you're doing and make sure that you're not doing anything that is going to negate the tax credits. Because again, it's sort of an all or nothing. And if you do one thing wrong, it can negate the full tax credit.
Wow.
Damn, Vince, expensive lesson. This reminds me of there's another member who didn't know what 1031 exchanges were, and they ended up paying like literally a year ago. They paid like $200,000 worth of gain because they didn't realize 1031s existed. So yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
Thanks for the update, Tiff. All right.
Yeah.
Next question. I think Arthur already asked this, but any areas with relatively new builds, decent rents, building projects seem spread out. I guess that was the east of Durham one that you're
yeah, I
mentioning.
mean, I would say anything in and around RTP. So in and around this pink area,
Yeah.
either the Durham side or the Raleigh side, anything here where 540 meets 70, which is Briar Creek area, or East Durham. A lot of people like East Durham because you can hop on 70, it's a straight shot to Raleigh. So you have families where one person works in Raleigh and Durham and they like that area because it's in between. The downtowns are popular. South Durham because it's central, going both west and both north and to RTP. This has always been a really strong demand area. Cary has always been a strong demand area way before Apple was ever mentioned. So again, they've gained in strength because of that. But again, if you're over here going up US 1, it's not a less desirable location. It's just you're not gonna get as many folks who are gonna be affiliated with what's going on in this area further out, more than likely.
Okay, follow-up question. I know you're not PM, but most of these new tenants, are you seeing them coming from tech companies? And if so, where are those techies trying to rent from, I guess, is probably where the question's coming
I
from.
would have to ask my property managers, the majority of tenants, like for the one that I mentioned, Vivek, the first property that he closed a few months ago, maybe in March, that the one that he got a tenant a week later, and then he just got the other one that I showed you the numbers for. That one was in a neighborhood called Grove Park, which is near this, eastern side of Durham, close to 70. And that was either a principal or an assistant principal. It was a $350,000, 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath house that backed up to a golf course. Pretty nice house for $350,000. And he got like an assistant, principal or principal to rent that one. So it's, again, since we have so many industries, our tenants are spread across so many industries. They're not always techies. We have a lot of people in healthcare, Again, Duke is the largest healthcare provider in the state of North Carolina, not just in the Triangle. They just happen to be housed primarily in the Triangle in Durham, but healthcare, biotech, IT, all those industries is going to be what's pulling in the tenants.
All right. Question. This is probably the last one. I can help you with that one later, Arthur. He's curious about building permits again and where they are.
Okay.
But question is, is there a restriction on number of days you can have it rented as an Airbnb in any of those areas?
So municipality restrictions, now that Raleigh has lifted, I have not heard that there's any restriction on the number of days. Again, there's going to be a minimum lease in some neighborhoods that have HOAs because they're not going to allow for Airbnb because they're going to require a full 12-month lease. So it's more concern on the minimum side than the maximum side, but I haven't heard of any maximums, but I would have to look into that because I'm not 100% certain.
Gotcha. Well, again, thank you so much for your time, Tiffany. We don't want to hold you up any longer. This ran a little longer than we usually do. But yeah, thanks again, everyone, for showing up. I'm going on a taco date after this, so I gotta skedaddle. You got any closing remarks, Annie?
No, so just something simple is we're really happy to have Tiffany go over the area with us and excited to meet all of the SARE members in North Carolina next week. So hopefully you guys take lots of pictures, post it up on our Facebook. We will be uploading this presentation for those who missed it. We'll put that up on our Facebook. So go ahead and connect with Tiffany on Facebook or on email before you guys head out. Otherwise, there's going to be a giant crowd of us fighting.
Yes. Yeah. Put your email for us real quick, by the way. Just type it in the chat.
Hang on, I still have my screen share up. It's
Okay.
Tiffany@tiffanyelder.com, but let me go back to the chat.
All right, well, you know where to go. I think someone's already interested in that quadplex, so hopefully we can
don't
put
worry,
an offer in.
I emailed Tiffany to catch up with
Okay.
Eric about that because I feel bad cutting off that question. We were just running way low for time.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm happy to chat with you guys again. I look forward to meeting you guys while you're out here. I'll definitely connect with you, and I'm going to get that map over to you, Annie and Nelson. I'll sort of narrate a few areas and recap you know, some of what I shared. And let me know if you guys need anything else in planning, you know, planning things. It sounds like you've got your agenda pretty set, but let me know if I can help with anything.
I'll send over the Excel sheet and you can tell us whether or not we're missing anything. All right.
Okay.
Thank you again, everyone. Have a good night.
See you next week, Tiffany.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.